Hey, how's it going, boys? Look, I just want to start with a bit of a complaint, actually. How come I haven't been on for years? What's the deal?
Schedule conflicts. Like, sorry, we're just so busy. We keep
Your
trying.
people.
You've got to let our people know so that it can go in the schedule.
No. You've got it all wrong. You got it all wrong. You know what? It's the build-up. We've needed this 4-year build-up to come to the peak of the. After tonight, what do? We're done.
Tom asked Kurt Christensen after this, the owner of Lego. That's your next mountain you've got to climb, right?
There you go. Well, I mean, we could start with some local designers over there. We'll start with Mel Caddick. There you go. Start with Mel, and we'll slowly climb up. And we'll go. You know what? Thanks for finally coming. Thanks for us, I guess, pulling our fingers out, putting the invite out there, making it all happen. We finally got you on here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's funny because we bump into each other in all manner of spots and places around the course. We've always talked about it, so it's finally nice to do it. Happy days.
It is. And you know what? It's probably better that we've got you now because, we'll go back to say, even when, my first season come out when we started the stream in 2019, we were having 5, 6, 7 guests. Who knows where we'll peak at tonight, and I'll put it out there. We technically, even though don't worry about the numbers, we are the number 1 Lego genre stream in Australia. So it's something. So don't you start streaming because, mate,
I'll leave it to the professionals. Thank you very much.
There we go. So, guys, we do obviously have BRICKMAN for the hour here tonight. So if you do have questions and chats, or thanks Whippy for the raid as well, put them in there, and as long as they're all good and we might relay them. If they're blatantly if they're crap, you're going to get ignored. So I thought, without really truly winging it tonight, I had a few key things. We'll get through the hour, but I guess the first one is from season 1 to now. How's the ride? Like, how's it been? Like, you've gone from being a bit of a BRICKMAN, knows a bit about Lego, to now, mate, your face is going to be on Weepick next week. I'm telling you.
Well, it's funny. People say to me, what's it like? And honestly, I mean, in context, I will get recognized. So if I'm like at a Lego store or something like that, someone might recognize me. But 99,000 times out of, 100,000, I just pass on by without any difference whatsoever. And that is awesome. Thank you very much. So not much has changed, to be honest. I still do what I do, except for 3 months of the year when I lock myself in a television studio and talk about Lego instead of building Lego.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, it's funny because there's some people that we've had on as in ex-Lego masters. They're like, every time we go to Kmart, the mums are at us, the kids are at us. The shopping center. I'm sure you get that randomly as well. Like, it's
occasionally. Rarely.
Okay. There you go. But, and again, now you're getting the gold Logies and you're getting all the other stuff.
Hang on, no, that's Hamish. Hamish has got that. So I think that's the good bit about being the wingman of someone like Hamish is he's the one who's the front man. He's the lead singer, whereas I'm the keyboardist. That's how I kind of make it roll. So yeah.
You're doing you're using the wrong analogy. You'd be like, he's the Anthony Kiedis and you can be the Flea.
Okay, right. Sure. Well, I'm probably more the bassist, actually. Got to keep the rhythm going, right? There you go.
Yeah. Everyone needs a good bassist.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go all these years of press shots, celebrity shots, all that kind of stuff. Getting up to our chat tonight, I needed to look for, some sort of decent pressure or something. Say, hey, look, BRICKMAN's coming on the Billsy show. We've got to get him on. What's kind of been out there the most cheesiest, most dad embarrassing type press shot? I'm sure you would have had a couple of don't ask me to do it. Not even don't ask me to do that, but like, oh my God, do I have to do this?
So with Lego Masters, what happens is on a Monday morning after we have the big episode on a Sunday night, which is, the longer episode where we usually do the double challenges and that kind of stuff. Monday morning is usually quite a radio blitz. So we'll be booked out from sort of 6 in the morning through to about 10 o'clock, across the country, doing a radio interview every 10 or 15 minutes, which is amazing. But there's a pecking order So as a rule, Hamish will do all the big ones, and I'll do sort of smaller ones, if that makes any sense. But occasionally we'll swap around. But that means that I occasionally get a radio station where the person that's interviewing me has never watched the show, wouldn't know a Lego brick if they stood on it, wouldn't any of that. And so the best one, I can't remember their name, which is probably a good thing, to be honest, but they'll always say, mate, this Lego thing that you got going on, it's pretty big, eh? Hey, you're going all right? Like questions like that. So they're probably the number one dumb thing that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, wow.
You got this Lego thing going on, eh? I love it.
Yeah. Mate, it's a ratings juggernaut. All the people are talking about it. Tell me what happens on the show. That kind of stuff. You can clearly tell that they don't have a clue what they're talking about.
And then you just got to come back with your preset generic, yeah, mate, we build
Hamish
Lego.
is funny. Yeah, the contestants are awesome as they always are. It's about the Lego, and
Yeah.
All right, let's because obviously I work in radio. I just saw someone comment, BRICKMAN does the smaller stations like Radio Metro. Get out of town, mate. For those that don't know, I work for Radio Metro. Let's go for people that do know you and I guess do hunt you down in the whole Facebook and the Daily Mail and stuff. What's the funniest moment you might have read saying Woman's Day, or have you ever had a that's got nothing to do with me? Why are you talking about the way I brush my hair?
Well, many years ago, I think it would have been series 2. New Idea wanted to come to her house and photograph us as a family, right? And so we had a round the table dinner discussion. Like, this is a different work. Why are they interested? Why do they want to come to our house for? What's all that about, sort of stuff. And so we kind of said yes, and it was that moment when the front cover of the New Idea at the Coles checkout has Meghan Markle on the front, and then Meet Mr. and Mrs. Brickman was written down the bottom of the page, sort of thing. So I guess that was pretty. That's pretty out there, And they want to. Oh, let's get a photo of you with your pot plant and all that kind of stuff. So pretty funny. Really.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, photo you and your pot plant. That's brilliant. Yep. I did see a question in the chat. All right, let's talk a little bit about Lego. I guess that's why we all are here. We all got some love for it. Lego Autohouse, do you actually get time to check out stuff at BRICKMAN? I guess shows in general. Every time I see you've also so fast you got a contrail. Fair question.
I do. What I tend to do is I'll tend to do that when nobody else is around. So very early, I'll be one of the first there or one of the last to leave, simply because I normally, and this is the awesome thing about Lego, as we all know, we've all got a Lego story. We all love Lego in one way or another. We want to talk about it. We want to, whatever. So for me, going through, if I think about BRICKMAN, how massive it is and the incredible Lego that's there, it would take me days to get through and have a yarn to everybody. So I tend to try and have a bit of quiet time and just sort of admire what I can, in the downtime, if that makes any sense.
Well, I guess, and let's use BRICKMAN for example. Did you see that one from, was it Sam McKnight at their...
Yeah, look, it's funny. That castle took my attention when I walked in the front door. That big, enormous, giant castle that was there, that's what grabbed my attention. So that's where I was headed. Thank you very much.
Just on that, on the BRICKMAN, on the mocks, the displays, for you, so not for BRICKMAN, but for you, Ryan, what's your theme? What's your go-to if you could only choose one?
Oh, that's a really tough one. I like recreating real world objects. So ships, planes, helicopters, boats, cars, all of those kind of things. So, I mean, if I was limited to one, it would be probably recreating something from real life. That would be sort of what my go-to. But, I like to put a twist on it. Might be a cutaway, might be oversized, might be, that kind of stuff. So I'll probably put a bit of a twist on it, but probably recreating things, I reckon, is my go.
Yeah, we can't use oversize anymore. We've got to go with the scale call.
Sorry, my bad. Cool. Yeah.
Talking about your real life stuff. Now we all know, I guess, especially a lot of the AFOLs in the chat and watching. We all know about the Elvis helicopter and the crap incident when it got damaged and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we've seen. I think I've seen a few stories that, you know, you've put out there and what's happened. For those that don't know, there was the Elvis helicopter got damaged in a supermarket, I think it was, or a shopping center.
It was a shopping centre up at Cairns Central. And we were doing like a big event up there with Lego bricks for kids to build the Great Barrier Reef out of Lego. And we just had a couple of models on display as well. So it was one of those.
Yeah.
And so some kids broke into the shopping centre after hours and like picked it up and threw it and all that kind of stuff. But there's a silver lining to the story, which always makes me smile no end. The next morning when I was at the shopping centre, channels 7, 9 and 10 were all there with camera crews. They'd heard that a helicopter had crashed into the shopping centre. So we got all of this crazy press, right? So thank you, Chinese Whispers, for spinning the words around the wrong way. Worked a treat. Got lots of press.
And what people don't realize, that was what got the attention of Channel 9, how you become BRICKMAN, and now
Sure.
But the question I got for that is, now you know you've been doing the large overscale, the oversized stuff for many years. Is there, and you know you've got your shows, and we'll dip into the show shortly. Has there ever been one oversized, you know, whether it be the Titanic or a helicopter or a building, that you've kept as sentimental, or that, you know, that's your favorite for so long, you've kind of had this whole time, you know, that you keep, maybe people are showing, or you keep yourself? Or?
Yeah, I mean, most of our models that we make end up in a touring exhibition somewhere in one of our shows or museums or galleries or whatever the case happens to be. And probably one of the most original ones that I did was the Colosseum many, many years ago. I'm talking 15 years ago. A big cut in half Colosseum, about sort of 2 meters by 1 and a bit meters, really quite large. And at the time, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about certain maths and certain, you know, how to solve certain problems. And so I always have a soft spot in my heart for that model. Like many years later, I had to make the MCG out of Lego. And ironically, exactly the same techniques that I used for that are in that model. So I always look back very fondly at the Colosseum. And, you know, there's any model that has a couple of funny stories to it always helps. And the good one with the Colosseum was I went a bit out there on the internet, and I got a piece of fan mail from an Italian AFOL who was really, really upset that an Australian had built it as opposed to an Italian. Very passionate, of course, about how they were. So in my typical poor sense of humour, I thought I'd get revenge on him. So I added a few little vignettes on the model to make it more accurate. Like I had, for example, there it is, well spotted. I'll see if you can find the other side, but I had like a lady having her handbag stolen. I had someone posing for a photo for 50 euros. The Pope mobile's on there. I added all of these things to make it a bit more fun and interesting. So you see the gelati down there, for example. So there's kids dropping their gelatis and stuff like that. So I added a lot of those to it as well, which made for a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, you can, you know, tell that like I took these photos in 2015 before either of us knew we existed. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But yeah, and I do remember going through the stories, and you know, like you said, you have the little stories on most, and the MCG's got some brilliant ones too. You know, that's been around for a few years as well. That MCG one. I remember. Now I'll put my hand up. I'll be the one that look like an idiot here. Let's go. And we kind of chatted really quickly off air about this dumb, not so much dumb questions, repeated questions. You know, roll your eye questions. Now I am definitely a culprit for it. I back then was one that says, "How do you get this job? How did you get this job? How do you do it?" And I'm sure every second person asks,
That's not a dumb question though. That's a genuinely curious. That's a great question to ask because it opens the door to a great conversation. So if I was to answer that,
well, okay, I must have got you in either a real busy mood or just piss off already. Too much people are asking me type mood, right? And I got you need to know, and it's probably the right answer too. You know, you got to know physics, you got to do this, you got to show your fan, it was kind of, anyway. Has anyone come to you like that and been like, "Hey mate, how do I do this? How do I get in?" But then actually come back and go, "I work for Lego now, mate. You know, I've got that foot in the door." We talked about this 10 years ago when I met you at Bendigo.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, totally. What I would clearly say first off is I'm not responsible for them getting a job at Lego in any way, shape, or form. They do that perfectly themselves. So I'm not going to take anyone's credit for getting them a job at Lego in any way. But I remember many years ago over in New Zealand, and we need to talk about Kiwi AFOLs. Actually, there's something special in the water over there.
All
There
right.
was a young guy by the name of Nick Vass. I don't know if you know Nick.
Yep. You know Nick, yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I met him as like a 14-year-old, and he was making the most amazing Lego models. And I'm like, holy smokes. Like when I look at my 14-year-old Lego, it's like, Jesus, that's a stinker. And his are like off the charts, amazing, incredible. And lo and behold, the dude's a gun designer at Lego. So, yeah, there's probably a few that I've had the pleasure or privilege of meeting along the way. Again, no influence on their career at all.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah.
So it didn't because we obviously have Kiwi Dan on our stream a lot. For those that don't know, building with the Black Dog. Now he was on the New Zealand Lego Masters, and he's close with Nick Vaz. I think didn't Nick? I'm pretty sure Nick was the one that designed the recent brick built Bionicle, the GWP Bionicle. I think he was the designer. I know he built was it the Brick Bank? I think he built as well, one of the modulars. That one.
Yeah.
Like you said, insane designer.
Crazy.
But yeah, so and again, like you said, there is some builds coming out of New Zealand that are next level. You know, where did that come from? How did you build? Even now, you know.
Well, look, I don't want to open any trans-Tasman disputes or arguments in any way, shape, or form, but obviously over in New Zealand, you know, amazing, God's country over there. Let me tell you, beautiful place. And amazing. And obviously they don't like us Aussies too much, which is fair enough and understandable. We're like the big brother that comes over and bullies them around a little bit. So I understand that. Anyway, they always ask me, particularly on radio or TV, is who's better at Lego, Kiwi kids or Aussie kids, right? Oh. And I actually have a real it is Kiwi kids. And I'll tell you why, is that Kiwi kids, as a rule, I'm very generalizing and stereotyping here, but they have less Lego. And by having less Lego means they do more with less and do crazier things and different and more unusual things. And they end up a little bit more ingenious. So as a blanket statement, with only my experience, it's Kiwi kids.
Yeah, wow.
You don't need to put disclaimers in. We're good. You know, it is
what it is. But and I remember certainly when I was a kid growing up, and we had a milk crate. Remember the old milk crates? We had a milk crate of Lego. It was either a milk crate with mum and dad's records in it, or the milk crate with our Lego in it. That was the two that our milk crate was. And that milk crate of Lego, I mean, you know, they started off as city Lego or space Lego or whatever, but it became everything as we grew up, as we went through all of our different phases of childhood, and it turned into so many different things. So, yeah.
And you're right on that too. Like Lego you had as a kid, you probably used each brick a million times, whereas these days sets tend to get built and put on the shelf, and that's it. So more and more bricks, I guess, as more and more bricks enter the world, they're getting used less.
And if you think of, and you know, I'm not one of these old man that yells at cloud type people, but if you think back in the day with Lego bricks, they were very different. I mean, the only snot brick we had was a headlight brick, right? And so that limited us and limited our ability to do what we needed to do back in those days. But as a child, that our imagination was dominant, irrespective of what the Lego bricks were. The power of Lego bricks now is like a million times stronger, that we're able to create more accurately than ever before.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that put more pressure on yourself building the larger scale stuff that, you know, where you would have brick built, say, a slope of a car, you know, now you've got the chance to not build studs on top, use slopes, use curves, you know, does that put pressure back on you now that there is the parts where you gave the imagination to make that look like, you know?
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. If I look at a Lego model that I'm making just for myself or for my own satisfaction or whatever, absolutely, that's where those crazy parts and utilizing the palette to our best ability comes from. 9 times out of 10, when we're commercially making a model, we've got a time budget or a parts budget or something like that, and we don't have the capability or the resources to be able to push ourselves to that next level. It's like, the great question is, when is a Lego model finished? right? You can tinker with a Lego model forever and a day, right? And it's never done. Well, when you're commercially making a Lego model, it's finished because you've run out of hours. So with that constraint, you've really got to think about, what parts do I use, what don't I use,
Yeah, okay. It's a fair thing. Like you said, so obviously for your own stuff now, you go nuts with all the unique parts and parts usage.
Yeah.
I actually had something down about for your bigger builds. So say we'll use the Formula One car from last year, the McLaren. Insane build. How with your maxi builds, what's I guess we all know about embargoes and sets that we could have, leaks, rumors, blah blah blah. Obviously, you get commissioned work, or you build out of love certain brands, designs, sets. I think the Honda as well, another car for an example. How long do you got to keep, what's the length of time you got to keep your tongue tied on? You had this McLaren. Was it in the BRICKMAN warehouse for 12 months? Kind of, come on, we want to release it. We want to show everyone type thing. Like, is that a thing? Or are you always build to release day?
No, it pretty much is. I mean, the world changed with COVID, as we know, but it changed lead times. It changed, remember when that boat got stuck in the Suez Canal? I don't know if you remember that container ship that kind of got itself wet. Yeah. Well, that blew out Lego shipments by 3 months and stuff like that, right? So, and COVID and all the delays and things like that. So we used to work a lot further in advance than what we do now. But if we think about that McLaren, we finished that probably a week before it was due. We weren't panicked by any stretch. It was well under control, but we'll often do that. But to get access to that car beforehand, I mean, I had to give away one of the kids as collateral.
I can imagine.
Legal documents and all of those kind of things. So a lot of that sort of stuff definitely comes into play.
Yeah, all right. So it's not just I guess it's like an artist, design me this, but you can't release it. Here's your embargo, here's your NDA.
Same thing. Yep.
McLaren's like, Mercedes, I know how they're doing their wing,
Yeah.
Using 2x4s.
Yeah.
No, it's very interesting. It's always weird little, and me totally just being selfish. These are just questions that I've always wanted to know outside of the generic, run of the mill stuff. I did see a chat question come through before now the last couple of weeks, and I saw G in the chat. So what's up, G? How are you, buddy? Goats, rare Lego pieces. What's your rarest? What would your rare set piece or
So this is an interesting one. They're not actually pieces, but things like mismolds or Lego pieces that came out of the factory wrong, or prototypes.
Grain? Is it grain? No.
There's a whole different series of them, and I've got a little display of those where I've picked them up in various times, like marbled bricks where they've injected different plastics together and stuff like that. There's a whole suite of them, all different types, and even a sprue. I've got a sprue that Lego bricks were attached to at one point and stuff like that. So I have a bit of a collection of that kind of stuff, just for no apparent reason. Like, you can't do anything with them, really.
No.
You could, but yeah, exactly. Someone's just commented there, the red Vader helmet, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say. So we've got a real close friend of ours, Bailey. You probably know him, heard of him, Bailey up here. He's an insane collector of everything Lego that's not Lego.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Yep. And he has them. He's got like a suitcase of marbled pieces and Bayer bricks and again, the odd. He's even got an original jacket from the grand opening of the Billund Legoland.
That's
right.
Like
the things. But yeah, no, that's cool that you still dig the unusual stuff that comes through. I like that.
Rarities. Actually, there's also another question in the chat that I want to know the answer to, because I don't think any Lego Master contestant can answer this one, honestly. But have you ever taken anything home from the brick pit?
Well, I personally haven't. The main reason is because I don't really need any more Lego, truth be told. However, I am not going to drop any names, but somebody I work very closely with has at times completely and utterly pilfered the brick pit within an inch of its life. And probably the best one the story that I can tell the most is the Star Wars episode on Lego Masters. We have all these incredible Star Wars minifigs, and you know what they're like. Star Wars minifigures are like a shiny, like, whoa, have a look at that minifig, type stuff, right? And so Hamish is in there, and he is like, I have never seen anyone in my life pinching these left, right, and center. His pockets were actually bulging. Anyway, I had to go up to him, and I had to say, hey, mate, can you maybe just wait till the end? Because the contestants kind of need some of those figures, if that's okay, if you don't mind.
How funny.
And he very sheepishly put them back up on the wall. So yeah.
Wow.
And we thought you were about to tell us a Jordan story then. Damn. I was going through the chat now. Has anybody come to you with a tattoo like that they've got of your signature, the BRICKMAN, like in inspiration from you?
No, nothing with me on it. My children are a close enough tattoo, I guess, of ours. That's probably as close as we get. No BRICKMAN tattoos. I see lots of Lego tattoos. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. We both have Lego tattoos. Yeah.
Yes. So, but no, never seen a BRICKMAN tattoo. Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. I'm a clean skin, so yeah.
Maybe I need to get a random BRICKMAN tattoo just so I got the first one.
There you go.
I'm sure there's a waste
like
of pieces.
the bottom of your foot or something,
Yeah. like Andy.
Yeah.
What's that? Hamish's got a new Bricklink store. Funny as.
Yeah.
Just scrolling through the chat. What's the Lego element you can't live without?
2x4s, by far and away 2x4s. The most versatile Lego brick there is. They help you go big, fast, super strong, very cool. There you go. I'll have a bag of those, please. There you go.
Yeah, Dave Holder's got the most in the country at the moment for his Pokemon.
You know, it's funny. It is the iconic Lego brick, right? Like it's the one that is used in all the marketing and everything or whatever. But it's hardly in any sets.
No, it is. Yeah, you're right. It's getting less and less. The sets.
Lost Bill's up.
Are just getting less and less.
Queensland internet.
Did I freeze then a little bit? Did I?
Just a little
bit.
All
good. It's all good. It was a good angle, so it was all right. But apart from things like classic and creator sets, they tend to be in there, but very rare elsewhere. Like City used to be full of 2x4s. Now you're lucky to find one in a City set.
That's a very bloody good point. That I'm looking around now and it's like you're right. Yeah, hands down. There's no, rare. There's the new rare stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of one buys, but yeah, the two buys are how funny.
Very rare.
Very interesting. The chat went too fast. There is no Lego. What's your hobby? So I personally know you're a fit lover. You love your marathons and stuff outside of.
Try to.
Yeah. Is there another hobby that you do? You watch collecting, Actually, I know you got a wicked collection of some shoes. I know.
That's because of the show. I had a few good shoes before the show, but obviously when the show goes, we got a little wardrobe budget, and I'll tell you a cracking story actually. So, as we know, I'm the master of the grandpa shirt. I love me floral shirt, which is great because they don't cost a lot. Let's be honest, right? My shirts are pretty cost effective as far as sounds. Whereas Mr. Blake, on the other hand, his wardrobe tends to be, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But that means I've got a little bit more to spend on the old shoes. So, so I end up with probably get 2 pairs a season. Yeah, so, wow. and having done 5 seasons now, I've probably got and I've bought a few myself over the years. So I've probably got a bit of a shoe collection, but. To answer your question, we marathon run. So I've done 13 marathons now. We're training 9 weeks away from Boston is our next marathon. And in a very stupid thing to do, we run Boston and then 6 days later we run the London Marathon. So we're doing 2 in a week, which is a bit of a dumb thing to do. But
yeah, some people travel the world to try the food. You just do it to try the marathons.
Well, we do it to try the food, but what running a marathon does is lets us eat as many bloody calories as we like. So that's why we do it,
So speaking of marathons, the application's open today for Gold Coast Marathon for this year for the 2nd of July. And every
There you
year
go.
I struggle to get him to come and do it with me. So how about you come and do the half with us this year or
I'll
next
run the
year?
half. You know what? If I'm in town, if I'm free and available, I will gladly run a half with you. No problems at all. And you know what? I'll even run as carry the boombox for you, Billsy, behind you, just to pump up the tunes. All right, mate? No problems.
As long as I get to choose the music.
Yeah, no. I'll make you run faster by choosing my music.
Oh, brilliant. Bloody brilliant. How'd this turn to start stabbing at me and my running?
Anyway, so in terms of hobbies, I mean, obviously, I still love doing a Lego set, and I ask for a Lego set for Christmas every year. That's always a bit of a family tradition that I managed to get a Lego set. But I'm a bit of being an old school nerd from like way back. Me and my friends, we war game a bit, we tabletop game a fair bit, board games, all that kind of stuff. So we tend to do a bit of that sort of stuff.
Cool. Very cool. And you find a lot of people do. I mean, Tim builds his Dungeons and Dragons.
Totally.
The little set he's got now. Yeah.
And
very cool.
Yeah, Scotty and Owen, I don't know if you know this, but Owen, for example's sake, was the state champion for Warhammer back in his day. So yeah, it's a thing, right?
That.
Yeah.
Brent Waller, what do you say? What's your D&D character?
Oh, the crusty old drunkard in the tavern in the corner would be me. The one that, if you ask a question, you either get really sage advice or mumbling. One of those two, depending on how the dice rolls.
Fair enough.
So we've got a question here. I'm going to add a bit of my touch to it. Brickles, how often do you go to Billund? Or I want to add to that one is we know a few people now that are lucky enough to get some of their sets and whatever displayed at Billund at the Lego house, obviously. And I think it was the dress. Who made the dress at Brickvention? I think that's gone to Lego house now as well. I think I've heard
Veronica from Geelong.
Yes,
awesome.
yes, Veronica, yes.
Yep.
Yes, I think that dress is gone there. So two-pronged question for you. Do you go there often, and have you had anything displayed up there?
Yeah, so we call it being beamed to the mothership is what we call it, is when we go to Billund. And prior to COVID, every year, basically, we would go. Us Lego certified professionals have a bit of a get-together. Usually it's in Billund. Sometimes it's in other countries, but usually it's in Billund for a week of conferences, meetings, all of those kind of wonderful things. So yes is the answer to that. And we actually do. And you know what? It's not a source of conjecture. It doesn't faze me at all. But we actually have, the big dinosaurs up in the main hall of the Lego room with the three big dinosaurs, the Technic, System, and Duplo dinosaur. Well, we actually did the eggs and the babies that hatched out of those. So if you find the little baby T-Rex and the little T-Rex that's coming out of its egg, they're our models. But they don't have our name plaque on it because it was commissioned by the Lego company for us to make them. So it doesn't say who made them or anything like that, like they do with the AFOLs and the sets. But so they're ours.
There you go. I mean, you could also just say, who cares about the Lego house, mate? I've got my sets. I've got my stuff in every shop in the country here.
And it's funny because I've been doing it a while. Often things that we've built pop up in really random places, like super random places. So, for example, one of the very early models I made, probably 12, 13, 14 years ago, I was over at Legoland in Florida about 5 years ago, and it was at Legoland in Florida, and it was originally made for somewhere in Sydney and ended up getting shipped and all the rest. So they pop up in the strangest of places.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because I know good old Rick James has told us his story about how he acquired Woody, and that obviously traveled a few kilometers. So
yeah, same sort of thing, right? Yeah.
What was your first big build? What was your first out of an official size maxi build, oversized build?
Well, the first one for the Lego group was Captain Jack Sparrow, life-size Captain Jack Sparrow. That was my first one that I ever did for Lego themselves. And it's funny, I look back and I had no idea what I was doing, of course, but bluff and bravado gets you a long way back in those days. So that was number one, and I think it's long since gone. I think it's hacked this. But there was a great story about it actually. At the time when I built it, Lego didn't have nearly the color selection of bricks that they have now, and Johnny Depp's people were having a fight with Lego about the tone of flesh that he was going to be.
Oh,
And of course, Lego at the time, we only had tan bricks, right? That was the closest.
Yeah.
We never had any of those skin earthy tones or any of those nougat colors. We never had any of those. And so he wanted a special color made just for his skin for that model, which Lego said, no, don't think so. So he ended up just being tan colored.
I mean, you know, I guess you could have really stuck it to him and said, oh, we'll do you yellow then. You know, you're not going to get any.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it could be scary.
Yeah.
Like, look, jaundiced. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually saw Brent ask a question or said something, a comment before about when you're talking about 2x4s that they're less yellow now. Like there's a lot less yellow than there ever was in the sets.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, as the Lego color palette, I don't have a palette here in front of me, unfortunately. But certainly with the increase in Lego colors, that's meant a decrease in Lego colors.
Yeah.
I had a look the other day, and there's roughly, I think it's about 13,000 elements in the current Lego palette, right? About 25 years ago, it was about 8,000. But in saying that, we're like 3 times the numbers of different colors.
Yeah.
So therefore, there has to be a extrapolation of, you know, less parts in a certain color.
Yeah.
And we did a show once. I think it was like last year. We're talking about it got to a point where when you were lug bulking, you could almost tell what country pressed what brick, like due to color and consistency. Yeah, like, you know, you could tell it was coming from Czech Republic or Vietnam, or
totally,
which is interesting again. You know,
I mean, I could talk for days about color consistency and the quality of Lego bricks and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that we do is, I mean, we're a pretty big user of Lego bricks, right? Like we use a lot of Lego bricks. So when something is different or changed or unusual or whatever, we notice it absolutely straight away. And so we can tell. I used to be able to tell. How's this? Many years ago, I used to be able to tell by picking up a brick compared to a different brick where it was made, but I can't anymore. I've lost that touch ability. But yeah, you can tell which factory they've come out of. No question. You know.
There you go. And so yeah, so you know, we weren't too far from the truth when we were noticing, you know, that we could tell what. And again, I think it might have been longer than a year ago because Bailey brought it up. Again, obscure Bailey brought it up, and he was like, "Yeah, no, bricks are different. I'm telling you, bricks will be different in this set to this set to this one." I was like, "Yeah." And you look into it, and there you go.
Yeah.
Well, here in Australia, I know you've got viewers and listeners all around the world, but here in Australia, originally the plan was about 7 or 8 years ago that we would source all of our Lego out of China. When Lego set up the factory just outside of Shanghai, that was going to be the source and location for all of our Lego. And unbeknownst to the Lego group at the time, the demand out of China outstripped anything. So pretty much the Lego factory in China just supplies all the Lego in China. So we still get our Lego out of Europe, but it was originally planned that was going to be where we got ours from.
Yeah, wow.
There you go. Now you can answer this one with a no comment or an eye roll or a move on. And I'm assuming you keep your eye still on the official sets that come out. Obviously, you know, theme stuff. BTS idea set that's about to come out. We were talking about it the other day. Now, as a set, you know, I'll fight you to the moon and back. It's a boring set. It's a facade with some minifigs. But we were looking at Lego's Twitter account. Their one tweet for the BTS is coming hint silhouette had more views and clicks than their whole Twitter page combined. Now, you know, tell me that's not a market, you know, hey, this is a new market, let's open this door. But, you know, do you think it's how do I say this without being too insultive to you? Not insult to Lego. Marketing move more than a good ideas choice, I guess, is the very bland.
Two parts of that. One thing we do talk about, I don't work for the Lego group. Okay, no, so I'm not employed by Lego in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, we're very close and we do a lot of work together, and I cherish their brand values like they're my own. But when I see some stuff, I just go, what the actual WTF, never mind BTS, like WTF. However, what I would say, the counter argument to that is, so Lego has about 25,000 employees around the world, okay? of which about 1,000 are involved in designing Lego and all of those kind of things, right? There's about 10,000 marketing people. So those 10,000 marketing people are going to have a fair bloody idea as to what's going to sell and what's popular and what's not popular. So in those scenarios, you've kind of got to go, sure, righto, no worries, you know?
You know what, though? To add to that, genius move. Hands down, bloody genius move. Why haven't you tapped into it earlier? Amazing, you know, good on them. Go for gold, but it's just kind of,
I mean, I like to picture myself in that boardroom meeting when that first topic was discussed and what you can imagine the conversations that went on. But I mean, if you think of Korea, for example's sake, it's an emerging market. They haven't captured much of that market. Yeah. Talk about one way to capture that market, like bang, in one hit, like whooshka, done, right?
Yeah.
Hands down, beautiful.
Brandon,
do I buy it?
Sales
no,
company.
I won't buy it.
I don't think we'll buy it, but you know, you say there's 1,000 designers, they got the teams, and they still let video come out, didn't they? So you know, we've got that.
Well, they did try and kill Ninjago for Chima too, remember? So there has been some stinkers.
Yeah, and you know, so it's not so much a hidden a leak or nothing at the moment. We all know there's a new theme coming this year, and it could go well, it could roll out. We'll wait and see in that space, I guess. The thing actually with video, the thing I did like was they built genuine turntables. So, you know, it's bonus for me. But you know, one out of them. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so going back to the sets that do come out, do you, and taking away, you know, your tradition of what you buy, do you look for a modular collector? You get a minifigure CMF? Are you waiting for the Ninjago? Like, do you have a certain theme or something you like, or you just kind of open there, out there?
Yeah, I definitely collect all the modulars, right, since the way-go, since Cafe Corner. I originally saw Cafe Corner when we were on holidays in the US. And I'm like, that's not Lego. Like, holy cow, that is so different to what I remember as a kid, right? And sure enough, I bought it. And I even bought a few Cafe Corners back in the day for parts. David Jones had them on clearance for $89, right?
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. Yeah, wouldn't we love our time again with that? Hey, wouldn't that be a nice one? So, I collect the modulars. But again, a bit like those parts I was talking about, I do try and collect unusual sets or sets that are a little bit rare or odd or that kind of stuff. That's probably, and even ones that mean something to me personally is probably like, you know, recollecting my childhood ones and that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And well, like, you know, the Lord of the Rings is about to come out. That Rivendell set is next level, proper bloody cool. Like the parts usage, the way they got hidden, the way they just, that one's going to be, I think, even, and me, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I'll tell you, I'm buying that day one. Like, that's an insane design.
Totally. And it's funny, it kind of reminds me when I look at a Lego set for a couple of things. First off, think about, wow, the subject matter interests me. And if that interests me, then it's usually a buy. Likewise, I think about if it's got new parts in it, if it's got new elements in it, I'm like, whoa, damn straight, I've got to get that new Torna snot, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And likewise, if there's a crazy technique that I've never seen before, which is pretty much, let's be honest, most adult-themed Lego sets, most 18-plus sets, have a technique that we've never seen before in our lives. So it's an interesting way for us to go, oh, look at that. Yeah, of course. How come we've never thought of that before? Of course we should be doing that, like that kind of stuff. You know?
Steve Bricky just nailed it. The seats, they're using sausages to wrap around for the seats, you know, like amazing. And then was it the A-frame using Thor's hammer as the stones under the cabin?
Totally.
Like, brilliant bloody idea. But yeah, it's I get that. I like that. Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people go nuts for, you know, what's you look at New Elementary, what's New Element, what's new. I remember what was it, Bill? The one that had the the teal, one of the modulars. Remember had the teal.
The garage. The garage.
How nuts did people go for just look at that element? Look, it's in your face, you know. Yeah, okay.
What I would say to counter that argument, you know, the price of Lego now, I am selective about what sets I buy. Maybe 5 or 7 years ago or something like that, there wasn't the range of Lego that they have now in terms of different parts. They never had those. Yeah. they had very rare did they have 18 plus sets and that kind of stuff. And there was maybe 1 or 2 a year that we would buy. Nowadays, one comes out a month, and I simply can't afford to buy every one that comes out. So I'm a bit more selective, particularly at some of the prices, so I'm a bit more selective as to what I get. I might miss out on Lego for a couple of months in order to get a better one, or a bigger one.
Yeah.
Well, not even that, everyone, and this is purely opinion rated, there's going to be stuff, even yourself, Bill, our guys in the chat, stuff will come out and oh, what's that? That's crap. That's bad. That's good. You like that. I can't pay for that. But I think one thing that the whole world has agreed on, that latest Hulkbuster, the price, the size, the look, that thing was just a massive dropped ball. Wrong timing, bad, and for the price, it was just, and then that, and going back, to your Coliseum, no one wants to pay $800 for 10 bags worth of cheese slopes. It's kind of
totally, yeah.
I get exactly the same with the Black Panther bust. Great idea, wrong character.
There you go. Look, I just had a quick look. Even Lego himself have him down to $679 because no one's buying it for $850.
Exactly.
It's
and you can't justify that. I mean,
No, you could build a Henry bloody life-size Gundam probably for that off BRICKMAN,
Yeah. Yep.
And again, we've talked about it's the whole the licensing versus what you're getting, what parts, who's going to make it, and there was that. What was the Star Wars? I can't remember. So a long-running thing on our stream is I don't like Star Wars. Full stop. Don't like Star Wars. Never watched it. Not a Star Wars fan.
Yep.
But they brought out the one that had the spinning turntable, and it was ideally 2 grey base plates, couple of figures, and it had a turntable in the middle, and that was a stupid price. And it was why? I get it. You got to charge $300 because $290 is going to Disney, but there is literally $10 worth of bricks on here. It's almost frustrating. It's come on. But then, going back, it kind of also, good on you, Snowlaner. Going back to the Lord of the Rings, it's an $800 Australian set, but it's got the parts usage, it's got the unique elements, it's got the weight. So it's 100% justifiable, and it looks bloody good.
Yeah, and so it's finding that balance, I think, of when you've got a big ticket item like that. And let's be honest, not all of us can afford that kind of Lego set all the time, right? So it's about being selective as to which one you want and which one means something to you the most to want to get it.
Do you, just a random out there, have you ever, I'm assuming you would have been approached about it, but people wanting to build your stuff, can I buy the instructions off you? Can I buy a diagram? Can I, what's kind of, do you sell or what, what's, dig deep into that?
We do. It's rare. It depends on what it is. Sometimes, some of our stuff is so big, it's very difficult for people to, be able to acquire or build some of that stuff. But we do get quite a few. And as we explain to most people, usually our models are one-offs. We don't make instructions for our things. So for us to make instructions of something would take 20 times longer than what it is to build it in the first place. So it pretty much makes it, not economical, so to speak.
Leaning off that, it's the questions go through me every time you say something like, I want to ask that. Going back to Lego Masters, and I mean, I've got my answer as well. What's the number one question people hit you with? What's the number one, the repetitive question that, that you get from general public, really?
What's Hamish like to work with?
Really?
That's by far and away the number one question that I always get asked, dead straight. And the answer is he's exactly the same person that you see on TV. He's no different.
A few times.
And so it's exactly the same. It's like when I talk to him, it's like the cameras aren't there. And I mean you were on the show. You thought it was like when the cameras weren't recording or whatever. It's the same conversation. So
it's fun. I think our one for a lot of Lego Masters is do they really build for that long? I think that was our
Was it all in one day? That's usually the other one.
Yeah. Well, so my answer was, and I don't think you know this, and it's long gone hish now. Watch my earrings. Continuity. Watch my earrings.
Yeah, right. No worries.
But it's definitely funny that you talk, and it happened at Brickbench. You know, now there's 4 seasons of Lego Masters. We all start. It's like we can all relate from that world. And yeah, and I was interested, you know, and I was asking everybody, you know, what do people ask about you? What goes on here? And yeah, it was very much, I think the Hamish one come up a couple of times, but it's always, you know, do you build, is it really like that? Is it the enhanced drama? I'm like, no, you know, of course they edit it, they put some music to it, but mate, it is what it is. Like, there's no bullshit there. Like, you're getting what happened.
No, and some of those moments where literally people are putting a Lego brick on with like 1 minute to go, like, we don't manufacture that. That's someone doing that of their own free volition, right? So we don't need to manufacture anything. It happens as a matter of course. So yeah,
And
I have a question for you, Billsy. A
we
return question. Any truth to the rumor that you and Kale are starring in Balloon Masters coming up this year? Any truth to that?
Balloon Masters.
Yeah,
we tried to go Kale scale and they kept popping, you know.
Yeah.
Balloon Masters. Is that actually a thing?
Yes, Balloon Masters. It's a thing. Channel 7, baby, up against Lego Masters. Get on it. Get on it.
You know, I laughed at Domino Masters. Now Balloon Masters. Far out.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be a cracker. Going to be a cracker.
I think they were going to, but the scale was all wrong. So
no, you know, Balloon Masters, you know there's going to be so many dirty innuendos on that show, for sure.
Yes, there you go. It's a thing.
So can I read between the lines? Is this a thing that there's a Balloon Man alter ego coming out soon from you? Or?
Well, I haven't seen the show, so I don't know. It's going to air It's going to air apparently at the same time as Lego Masters. It's going to be our foe, our arch nemesis will be Balloon Masters on Channel 7. So I'm going to have to watch it.
No, they've got no chance, clearly.
Well, they said we were up against Holy Moly last year, which was going to just wipe the floor with us and kill us.
Clearly. And what did that do? What's Holy Moly?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's in the bunker.
Yeah. And what did they put up on previous years? Where have they gone as well? So
yeah, that's exactly right. Look, you got people. I mean, let's be honest. Before Lego Masters, as we know it, surfaced and was on our televisions, and we're all part of it. If someone had said to you there's a show called Lego Masters, you would have said you're a bloody idiot to watch that show. Like, that sounds ludicrous. So we can't judge. You know, we've got to give it the faith. Have some faith, people. All right.
And let's add to that. If you ever did, okay, Lego Masters, this is cool. Let's search it. And you saw the very first English one. You're like, you're going to be on a show like that? Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you the story of that. So, as you know, I'm not a television person first and foremost. You know, I'm a Lego guy. That's what I do. Is I play with Lego. And so, this is a bit of a strange story, but we were running the Moscow Marathon of all things, right?
Huh.
And what we decided to do is, after the Moscow Marathon, is take the train all the way across Russia, the Trans-Siberian Railway, right? Which is like 6 days of nothing, of drinking vodka, looking out the window at ice. That's pretty much all you do for the whole 6 days, right? And so before we left Australia, they're saying there's this show. Are you interested? Do you want to do it or whatever? And I said, look, we're going away, but what I'll do is I'm going to research it while we're away. And so what we did is we loaded it up on our iPad and watched it on the Trans-Siberian, the English version, watched it on the Trans-Siberian across the depths of Russia to learn about the show. And of course, when I came back, I was like, oh, gee, I'm not 100% sure about it. You know, I don't really know if that's my thing. And then when I met Hamish and DMAC and all the producers, that kind of thing, they explained what they were going to do with the show and how it was going to be different and all that kind of stuff. That's when I came on board. So I had watched the UK version.
Yeah, wow.
And you know, we did the same thing as, you know, unknown contestants. We did our research to the UK and was like, oh, what do you expect? Walk in day one. What's this? You know, it's nothing like we're expecting.
Well, it's funny. That's a really valid thing to talk about, because I always talk about season 1, right, of our Lego Masters, the bravest people on the planet, because they didn't know what the show was about. You didn't have a clue what we were going to do to you, how the show was going to run. You didn't know any of that kind of stuff. And every other Lego Masters in the world now has the pleasure of watching you. And even some people saw how you did a challenge, like the bridge challenge, for example's sake, right? And learnt from all your challenges and were able to know what the show was about because of watching you on television. So I always have a special thing for you season 1 veterans, because you broke ground.
There you go.
And
And then
that's why
okay,
we'll
so
go out on and break a limb on the Balloon Masters and give them credit before it airs.
That's the positive attitude we're talking about, Builder. Nice work.
So it's no secret now as well, and we will talk about going from season 1 now. We are 4 seasons down. Releasing this year, we are at season 5 now. Obviously here for the Australian Lego Masters. Do you want to give us the TV spiel on season 5?
Well, I think I've seen a couple of little Channel 9 promos where they've hinted at a few things, and they've kind of mentioned what's going on. So we've always angled. This has been right from the very first couple of episodes of your series. We were talking about Grandmasters and what that would be like, and how we get the winners back, and the cream of the crop, and all those kind of the television superlatives you can roll them out, sort of thing. And so we'd kind of this is a long game for us, and so we were worried. Is it going to live up to that hype? Is it going to, do everything that we'd been hoping for? And holy cow, is it beyond what we expect? Like, it's next level. It really is. And because everyone's a veteran, they've all been on the show before. They know the game. They know how it works. They know the television. They know all of that kind of stuff. Most of them have been training and have been practicing and all that kind of stuff. And it's just next level. It is. And this is the hard bit. This is the trickiest bit. Pray if there's someone upstairs, pray to them. If we do a season 6, how are we going to do that?
Well,
yeah.
Like, how do you follow that up?
How do you reset from that?
So great problem to have, hopefully, but yeah.
But is that where like a reinvention comes in? Like, if you look back at many other reality shows, they've changed their format. They've done family versions, they've done celebrity versions, and most of those, I guess, aren't around anymore because of that. So do you take that leap of faith and maybe go the reinvention, or do you stick with the format that?
Oh, he's frozen again.
That's all right.
I think we got what he's still trying to say.
Oh, did I cut out?
It's a great question. So my take on it is, I'm interested in 2 things on the show. The first off is the show is about Lego and creativity. Okay, they are sacrosanct. We do not muck around with either of that stuff, right? So as long as we still have incredible Lego creations and people showing creativity and being brilliant, then the rest of the stuff can do whatever. So as long as those 2 remain the same, because that's what the show's about. That's why people love the show. And so the powers that be, Hamish and all of the organisers, they are brilliant at television. And I have the utmost faith that whatever they decide to do around that, Lego and creativity, then the show is in great hands, as long as we keep those pillars the same.
Lugs with slugs. Or Too Long Didn't Read. I'm just going to play with Lego. It's the Challengers team's job to make it look good.
I'll tell you what I have pitched, right? And this is one that I would love to do. And it's probably not a series. It's maybe a couple of specials, but it's host and judge versus other hosts and judges around the world, right?
Oh,
and so me and Blakey up against everybody else. And it will be absolutely game on. Game on, I can tell you.
So that'd be what, you, Jamie Barrard, Robin from Canada.
Yep, New Zealand. He'd be over there with Di. Yep.
Yeah.
All of us smacked there. Renee in Germany, who's a gun Lego builder, and Elizabeth, she's an amazing Lego builder as well. So it'd be like hosts and judges, and this is why Australia would win hands down. All I have to do is tell Hamish to go off and start bugging people. And let me just work and build, and
that would, and you know what, that would be the point, like you said. So the Grandmasters, they've been there, they know what's involved, and you'd have to expect them hands down that their level's gone from 0 to 100. Otherwise, what are you doing here, type of thing. But then that would then put on you guys as judges of the shows to make the Grand Masters look like season 1 almost. You know what I mean?
Correct. That's right.
What's that? Wouldn't work, Brickman. Hamish would be too busy still.
Totally would. No, well, as long as he distracts the other teams, I'm all good.
All right, so we are obviously nearing to the end. I will give a quick shout out to obviously the latest show that is down in Sydney, BRICKMAN. It is one of the latest ones. We've got a guy from Brisbane up here. One of his, I think it's a ship he might have, Alan. Alan Lim.
Up there.
Right.
And can I give one shout out? Our show Bricktionary, the A to Z of Cool Lego, is opening for our US fans in Cincinnati in March. And I'm actually going to go over and get a chance to reconnect. First time since COVID. So looking forward to catching up with some American friends. Been ages.
And those watching in America, Luke's Lowrider. Freaking awesome. Love the...
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you seen it work with the power functions? Have you seen it go up and down?
I was lucky.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's bloody cool. And of course, your books, you still have your books out there, and I was lucky enough to get a couple of them signed. Is there any coming up, or is it that latest, the Brickman's Book of Better Builds? Like that one's proper next level, ideas.
So that's design. Yeah, that's designed. There you go. Thank you very much. But it's nice work. You like the George Costanza hand model. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. That book I wrote, I got asked the question of how do you get good on Lego Masters? And that book is the answer to that. So I actually wrote that book with Aim and David McDonald to try and answer that question to how do you win Lego Masters. So that's what that book's all about. Always got something on the boil, so always got some kind of plan. So yeah, there's something afoot.
Very cool.
There you go. Brent, you should read that. Yeah, where was that in season 1? Come on.
Yeah, I don't. It's been in the drawer in the brick pit. If you look behind you, Billsy, in the fourth drawer down at the very end, it's always been there, mate. It's always been there.
Oh, I've seen that video. But again, our hour is up, and again, much appreciative. Finally, it's good to finally get you here after all these years. And I still had many more questions and stuff like that, so we might do it again. Might do another rehash and get you on and catch back up. But I'm sure we'll see you at another show, and we'll definitely see you for obviously season 5 now. Grandmasters April-ish. I don't have an exact date, but we know it's coming out in April. And until then, man, again, much appreciated. And thank you.
Oh, no, thanks for having me on. It has been a long time. As you say, we could talk for hours probably. We all share something in common, our love of the brick, and we could talk forever on that. So I would love to come on again and keep the chat going.
There we go. Now, before I do, I won't close everyone's here is still live. We will raid another Lego builder. So people in the chat, where he calls himself Supercomputer. He's a really good Lego, but he's part of the train as well. So we're going back to the States, I think. Yep.
What's his thing? What's his specialty?
At the moment, it looks like he's building Buccaneer. No, he's just building a mock. I've got a set. I can see like a screenshot of what he's building, but his thing's more. Let's build with very unique American humor. He doesn't have a set build. He's just entertaining to watch. So Canada, there you go.
On board.
All right, let's we'll send the people over there, and we do have we got almost 100 viewers, so he's going to get rolled and surprised.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
So, there we go, and hopefully that will roll over. As soon as that rolls over, we'll let you know and we'll close out. But it has definitely been a good, interesting run. So, Bill, can you tell me if it's gone across to him when it goes?
It has.
Beautiful, and we'll end